Successful home buying process is all about getting the right information from the onset and understanding the pros and cons. Next, how do you get a title deed when buying a house within the affordable housing projects? Knowledge is power. Esther, what a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Thank you, Nancy. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Give us an overview of the property market through your eyes and what you're seeing and how it's unfolding.
2024 is, for me, a year of growth, as far as I can see, in the real estate sector. And some of the drivers of that growth is firstly the affordable housing space. With government participating in affordable housing, which as we speak now is looking like it's funded because of the affordable housing levy, we have even started seeing the development of lots of projects, and not only in Nairobi but across the entire country. So the affordable housing space is a great contributor to development or growth of the real estate sector this year and in the next few years to come. The second area of growth is the industrial use space, where we're seeing old and traditional industries moving from what was traditionally the industrial area to new areas of growth or new cities, because these new cities are now being structured as mixed-use developments where you have the various uses provided for. The other area of growth as far as the real estate is concerned is growth within the counties. Yeah, with devolution, this I think is the time when you can see physical growth. You know, there's urbanization happening within our counties. People moving from their homes, coming to live within the urban centers, where you find the offices of the county executive and the county assembly. There's lots of growth there. So there's need for housing to house those sort of people. There's need for commercial or retail spaces also, so that then you can provide for shopping areas for those people who are moving into the urban areas. So 2024 is a year of growth. There are statistics, studies that have been done by different people. I think I saw one by Stanbic, which seem to indicate that there's real growth in the real estate sector.
When it comes to affordable houses, one of the major concerns is about the title deeds. Currently, we see a lot of those houses are being built in government land. How will people get their title deeds, and how is that process?
For affordable houses, a lot of them are not standalone units. So you would find that it's a block maybe of apartments, several apartments, built on one parcel of land. And one of the biggest challenges around titling houses that are not standalone is the question around subdivision, because you cannot subdivide land and give it to somebody who's on first floor, second floor, third floor. Hence, the enactment of the Sectional Properties Act of 2020 and the regulations that followed thereafter. So under this act, it is possible for you to get a title, a sectional title in respect of your unit. Yeah, whether your unit is on ground floor, is on first floor, is on second floor, or whatever floor. Because what happens is that the georeferencing of your unit is in relation to the ground coordinates, as well as the positioning of your house wherever it is that it appears in the actual structure of the building. So once the survey is done, the georeferencing is done, then there's a process through which each unit is titled, and each person gets a distinct title, which they can hold, which they can transfer to their generations, which they can even charge to a bank. So it's a proper title that is issued under that act. So we are seeing sectional titles as one of the methods that has come to really solve the question around titling of affordable housing.
Sounds very good. However, we know that the sectional title or the title has a time frame. So after 99 years, does it revert back to the government? How does that process look like?
Okay. Yeah, so the title that you will get is for a leasehold tenure, and you've correctly said it's for 99 years. Now, come the end of the 99 years, we have a framework under our land laws that allows for extension of lease. right? So, and the framework requires that before the present term expires, you're supposed to apply, or the owners of the property are supposed to apply for an extension of the lease by government. Now, there are certain things that the government would then look at to determine whether to extend the lease or not. Assuming an empty piece of land, maybe you did nothing with it, you've just been sitting on it, it may be harder for you to get an extension. But in this case, you're seeing a situation where affordable houses have been built, they have been sold, so there's use of the initial leasehold title that was given by government, and therefore using the framework for extension of lease, you will be able to get the extended term.
What about developers who have started off building within the affordable housing space? People have paid deposit because the units are beautiful, the price is right. Along the way, they are stuck. Our clients have paid money to get a unit, but it seems like there's a problem with funding. And I suppose because the land belongs to the government, it's very unlikely for you to go to a bank and charge that land. What's going to happen in that case?
I think that's a complicated question, and I think I'll take it back to the developers and say, before you commence the development of a project, you should ensure that your funding is in place, that you've locked it end to end, so that you don't start hoping to sell, collect some money, and then continue building. Make sure that you have arranged your funding in such a way that you can see through the development of the house from beginning to end. However, where we have instances that the project has stalled along the way, there has to be a conversation between the developer and third-party investors who can come in and rescue the project. Then methods can be applied to refinance a project like that. Is it by looking for other investors who can come in and take over the project? Where this funding that has been provided by a lender, can the lender step in and take over that project and find someone who is the financial muscle to complete the project? I don't find that there would be a solution in every purchaser saying, give me back by refund, because what happens is that every deposit that is paid is actually utilized towards the construction of the unit.
Esther, recently cases of fraud have increased in the land sector. Perhaps with your experience, you can share with us some of the things we should be careful when getting into the land deals.
I think sometimes the telltale signs are there, but sometimes they can be very concealed. You may not quite see. And one of the things I've seen around or relating to fraud is where you have manufactured documents, a manufactured title, a manufactured ID, and people passing off as other people and selling other people's land. There is a way in which one can try to mitigate that risk by ensuring that you've done the correct due diligence. The second instance where we see people losing money in the process of buying and selling land-related property is where there is double allocation of title. So you have two people allotted the same parcel of land. So the problem actually emanates from the person who's making the allotment. That is from the Ministry of Lands.
Is it a mistake or is it done intentionally? And how do you remedy that?
I would say that it can only be done intentionally, because land cannot be surveyed more than once, so you cannot have more than one deed plan. There's only one deed plan at a time. So by the time you get to a point where you have double registration or double titling, there must be collusion by some people, perhaps within the Ministry of Lands, to then have this double allocation, because that's the other instance. So that then if you end up transacting with the person who got the title as a second person, then the question becomes, is it the rightful owner? So that's the sort of second situation we see. The other issue around fraud is where you, yes, are dealing with the right person, with the right title, but they identify the wrong person. So they don't show you the right one.
I am Nancy.
Yes.
I am the owner of this land.
Yes.
And then?
So the land is undeveloped. So there's this scheme, let's say it's 10 acres and there are many parcels of land, and you have a quarter, yes, and you want to sell it to a third party.
Yes.
But because your quarter is not located in the best of locations, you come to me as your buyer and say, here is my title, genuine title, and yes, this is me selling. but however the land that you attach to that title is the wrong one. So what happens is, in my mind, I'm buying a specific parcel, but in actual sense, you've shown me a different parcel. So we've seen a situation where, based on those facts, someone bought property, the property was charged to a bank, and they developed the one that they had been shown. So they built a house. But the title they held was for a different plot.
Actually, we've dealt with 3 people who have done that. It's very sad.
Yes, because what then happens is, like in this particular case, there was then default on the repayment of the loan. So when the bank then appointed an auctioneer to sell the property, the auctioneer goes to site and finds a vacant parcel of land, because now the auctioneer has done due diligence and found this is the plot. So according to the bank papers, there's supposed to be this beautiful house, but on the ground, the actual land does not have anything. So you see that it just creates a whole sort of other mess. And usually that happens when perhaps you think your plot is not very well located.
So any buyer must work with a surveyor as well.
Yes, due diligence extends beyond legal due diligence. It also goes to survey due diligence, where the surveyor tells you,
these are the beacons.
Yes, these are the beacons, this is where your land is located. So that's another step that one must ensure is done. Of course, then the location is extremely important as well here, because there's what I mentioned, that you could be buying the one piece of land, but yet you're buying another because of the documentation that you hold. But also there's these challenges around like what we're experiencing, right?
The riparian. Yes. How can people buy land on the riparian?
It starts with you getting your diligence wrong. So first of all, land within wetland areas is not supposed to be allotted for private use unless it is part of a larger parcel. Like for example, if you're sitting on 1 acre and it runs all the way to a river, then your title or your deed will include the riparian section.
Which is 30 meters.
Which is 30 meters. But with a disclaimer, you are not allowed to build anything permanent on the riparian land. So you're supposed to build on what is not riparian and leave the riparian free because of circumstances like what we're experiencing today.
Perhaps you could take us through, when buying land which has no title deed, what are the repercussions?
If land is not titled, therein lies the initial red flag, because if you're buying land that is not titled, then really what are you buying? And what is the person selling to you? Because
he's selling me land, He's telling me the title deed iko karibu kutoka. So I buy it knowing in a few weeks or in a few months, and he takes you through where the process is. And for some reason, I believe him. What happens after that?
Assuming there is, let's say, the land that is owned by, let's say, cooperatives or circles, where you find that they own a significant parcel of land and they're in the process of subdividing and selling smaller parcels to end buyers. In that case, that allows you room to do due diligence on the larger title. And so long as you have documented your process from that larger parcel to how you will end up with your specific parcel, then that should be fine. If, however, someone comes to you and says, maybe what I have is a letter of allotment, then that's a red flag in itself. Because a letter of allotment is an offer for you to be allotted the land. And you cannot sell what you don't have.
The letter of allotment, I have an offer that I'll own that land, but I don't own that land.
You don't own it. So you cannot therefore begin to appropriate to yourself the land rights to sell to a third party. If you find yourself in those sort of circumstances, I think you should pull back, because there's plenty of property that you can buy from here.
Thank you so much for your insights, Esther. As always, it's such a delight to have you. Give us your final thoughts.
So it's been a pleasure being on this show yet again. Thank you very much. I think for me, real estate is and has been my passion for a long time. The opportunities in real estate are many, both for those who want to develop, those who want to buy their homes, those who want to buy property for maybe commercial or industrial use. The opportunities are there. It is how you get to close on a particular transaction that is important, and who are the professionals that you're working with that will enable you achieve your objectives. So work with professionals, work with lawyers, work with surveyors, as we have said in this show. It is important that you work with a surveyor. Have your comprehensive due diligence done prior to signing on to a contract that will then enable you own a piece of property. And at MMC Asafo, where I'm the managing partner, would be very happy to provide legal advisory in this space because we've done it for many years. Thank you.
There you have it. If you're an expert in this industry and would like to share your insights on this platform, just give us a call and we'll be happy to talk.